You are listening to KVOX Public, 89.9 FM. This is Cal Mercer, on the overnight board in Studio A. The stream is down. The translator in Golden is intermittent. The main transmitter on El Dorado Mountain is holding at reduced power. If you can hear me at all, you are already ahead of most of the Front Range tonight. Program title for the log is You Are Listening to the Radio as a Black Hole Swallows Earth in 3 Days. That is not theater. That is the official guidance from the Joint Task Group briefing carried at 1900 Mountain, confirmed by NASA, ESA, and the National Solar Observatory. My name is Calvin James Mercer. I am 38. I grew up in Longmont, volunteer at this station, and work days at a small AV integration shop in Louisville. I have a degree in communications from CU Denver, and a habit of taking the late shift when anyone gets sick. I am here with two people who keep us on the air. In Master Control is our chief engineer, Mark Serrano, who retired from microwave maintenance at the state network and knows how to coax life out of racks that should have retired before him. In the newsroom is our producer, a student named Sophie Klein. She is 20. She knows how to coax life out of the rest of us. I will tell you what we know. I will keep it plain. No sound effects. No drama. If my voice shakes, it is not for ratings. It is because I am human. The agencies maintain a shared bulletin. The object is not a comet. It is not a planet. It is a compact mass on a steep inward track, already inside the orbit of Mars 3 days ago, masked from casual survey by a low albedo and a background field that did not give enough contrast until the lensing grew strong. Early identification came from weak anomalies on pulsar timing arrays and a pattern of GPS clock corrections that did not match known solar storms or ionospheric behavior. The word used at 1900 was black hole. Mass estimates changed 3 times during the briefing. The range and velocity tightened. The phrase you heard in headlines, 3 days, is not a countdown to theatrical impact. It is the expected time before event horizon capture of our world line. That is the language from one of the astrophysicists on the panel. If you are joining right now, here is what that means in terms you can use. Gravity is not a switch. It is a field. When a compact mass moves close, it pulls on the entire system. Orbits change. Clocks change. Tides change. This is already happening. You do not need to see a black circle in the sky to confirm it. You can look at the moon and notice that its phase is wrong by a small margin compared to your calendar app. You can check 2 independent clocks in your house and notice a drift that was not there last week. You can listen to WWV on 10 MHz and hear the time tick smear. If you have a barometer, you can log a pressure swing that does not match the forecast. If you live near the coast, do not wait for a NOAA push alert to decide whether to move your car to higher ground. Do it when you finish listening to this segment. We are keeping this show as a loop of verified updates and live calls. The station office line is patched to the board. The amplifier for the phone hybrid is warm. When you call, keep it to 90 seconds if you can. State your name, your city, and one thing you know from what you saw, not what you heard. Before the first call, I am going to log a local condition. At 21:32, the El Dorado transmitter tripped from 5 kilowatts down to 2. Mark repatched to the auxiliary exciter, and we are holding at 2.1. That is why signal strength is down in Fort Collins. If you miss parts of the program, we are also on a small HF rig in the newsroom. It is a basic transceiver, nothing fancy. If you can hear a weak voice there, that is us. Call 1 is ready. Cal. This is Officer Daniel Ruiz, Denver Police. I am off duty and at home in Villa Park. I can see downtown from my porch. Streetlights on Federal went to half power at 21:10. The sky has a faint curtain to the north. I called a friend at the airport. He said the ATC display filters went weird around 2000 and they slowed arrivals. He has never used that exact word. Weird. That is my update. Officer Ruiz. Thank you. We have a matching note from Denver International at 20:21 that the TRACON applied flow control to reduce arrival rates. We are not here to cause panic. We are here to identify changes. A major airport slows arrivals only for weather, equipment issues, or airspace problems. There is no weather over the field. There is no TFR. Draw your own line. Call 2. Hello, this is Dr. Elena Chang, astrophysics faculty at CU Boulder. I am on the East Campus lab floor. Most of my colleagues are still here. I want to confirm a thing you said. The WWV time standard out of Fort Collins shows irregular phase delay against our rubidium reference. If listeners have a shortwave receiver, tuned to 10 or 15 megahertz on AM, and note the difference between ticks and any local network clock. If you see a growing offset, that is not your imagination. Also, if you notice bright stars forming rings or arcs around something you cannot see, that is gravitational lensing. If it happens, do not stare through optics for too long. The effect can strain your eyes. Drink water, rest. Keep your pets calm. Dr. Chang, thank you. The studio clock is an NTP client, and we have watched it jump backward by a fraction of a second 5 times in the past hour. Mark is no longer trusting the network for anything that controls safety. His hand is on the manual switch for the generator transfer. Let me set expectations. Day 1 is classification and preparation. Day 2 is irregular tides, satellite failures, and visual distortions. Day 3 is full system failure and whatever final hours look like on a radio. If you are driving, top off your tank when you pass the next station. If you have prescription medicine, call your pharmacy when the sun rises. If you live on the first floor in a flood zone, make a plan to stay with a friend on a hill for 2 nights. If you have a neighbor who is alone, knock on his door and ask whether he has what he needs. Sophie is handing me a sheet of messages from the studio inbox. Internet is patchy, but we still get bursts when packets squeeze through. Here are 3. A deckhand named Lucas in Port of Long Beach reports 2 ships tore moorings when the afternoon tide surged beyond prediction. A nurse named Mariella in Miami says Jackson Memorial put non-critical discharges on hold to keep beds available. A school district manager in Tulsa says bus fuel deliveries did not arrive, and morning routes will shift to a later time if anything runs at all. We are not curating for fear. We are curating for signal. If you are awake in the Front Range, step outside and look east. There is a low auroral band. It is not strong enough to glow neon. It looks like a faint lake of pale green above the horizon. Space weather monitors do not show a major solar event. This is likely magnetosphere strain. It is not dangerous. It is a signpost that the field is changing. If you drive into the foothills, do not stop on the shoulder to take photos in the dark. Pull into a turnout and keep your engine running. We have a call from the coast. Cal, this is Chief Petty Officer Mason Torres, United States Coast Guard, Sector San Francisco. I am speaking for myself, not the service. I can confirm that we put out a notice to mariners to secure craft in harbors and avoid open water unless required. We saw a tide swing inside the bay that does not match the book. We plan for king tides. This is not that. I advise anyone on the water tomorrow to wear a life jacket and file a float plan with someone who will be on shore to check on you. Also, if you are thinking about sightseeing along the cliffs, do not. Chief, thank you for your candor. If you are just joining, this is KVOX Public. We are a small station built on bake sales and pledge drives. We do not have a war room. We have 2 phones and a signal that reaches to Wyoming on a good night. We also have neighbors, if you have a skill that matters when the grid is not reliable. Generator maintenance, first aid, radio. Call and tell us what block you are on. We will read it out once per hour so people can connect. We are going to play 30 seconds of tone, so Mark can move the generator to load and test the surge suppressor. If you hear a drop, we will be back. We are back. The generator took load. The diesel tank is at 70%. By daybreak, we will decide whether to go to a rotation schedule to stretch fuel. If you are a station manager somewhere with a bigger tank and you hear this, share how you are doing it. We will borrow your wisdom. Sophie just flagged an email from Kiev. I will read it with care. The subject line is, Kiev mechanic, left bank. The sender is Alexei, a mechanic in Darnitsky. His English is clear. He writes that he is on the left bank of the Dnipro. He parked his car on a ramp near an overpass because water rose in the river channel this afternoon, and he did not trust the embankment lights, which flickered for a second. He says people stood on the bridge and watched the water pull in a direction that did not match the wind. He is not afraid of weather. He is afraid of a force that does not check the flag. He is on channel with friends on PMR 446 radios and tells neighbors which ramps are dry. He asks if anyone in Lviv has safe space for a cousin who wants to leave in the morning. Alexei, we hear you. We do not have a directory for your country. If someone in Lviv hears this on a relay, and you have a safe place, find a way to tell your local community network where to meet. The phone lines are quieter. Sleep if you can. We will keep the updates rolling. I'm going to speak aloud a list for anyone who needs a plan. Keep it simple. Fill water containers. Label them for drinking. Charge the battery packs you own. Do not block exits with stored items. Keep a flashlight where you can find it in the dark. Tape a note to your front door with the name and number of a person out of town who can confirm you are okay. If you need to leave your home, put the note in your window. This matters if cell service becomes patchy. Now, I want to say a thing for anyone who believes this is a countdown to chaos and that no one will act with care. I was here during the Marshall Fire. I watched neighbors knock on doors and pull people to safety with minutes to spare. I watched a grocery clerk tell a line of 100 people that the truck did not arrive, then hand out free bananas to keep children from crying while their parents figured out the next step. I do not have a speech about human nature. I have a memory of very ordinary kindness. Keep that picture. You may need it in 12 hours. We just received the first official local notice that is different from everything else. Boulder County activated a voluntary relocation advisory for mobile home parks along South Boulder Creek. Message is clear and boring and important. Move your vehicles and medications to a higher street and be prepared to leave with short notice. If you live there, you know the drill. If you do not, now you do. Sophie has a weather update. National Weather Service issued a special statement for Colorado and Wyoming. Not a thunderstorm or blizzard. A notice that river forecasts may diverge from modeled values due to tidal forces. They ask for citizen observers to submit photos of river markers at fixed times with timestamps. They will update hydrology products every 3 hours. Thank you, Sophie. If you want to help professionals help you, that is a way. If you are near an east-facing window, you will notice the sun has a halo. It is subtle. Do not panic. Do not stare for long. The light has a ring artifact. Dr. Chang is on the line to give the right words. Cal, the ring is a weak lensing artifact. It means the path of light is bending by a small angle. You may also notice that shadows have a faint second edge. This is normal for abnormal conditions. If anyone has a telescope, I suggest you do not point it at the sun, ever. Point it at a bright star near dawn or dusk, and note how its position shifts over minutes. Keep a log. It is not frivolous. Records matter. I thanked her with my eyes through the glass. She waved through the studio window. It helps to have a scientist 2 doors away who speaks English and not jargon. Power is still on. Internet is a slow river with rocks. Gas stations on Arapahoe and 55 have lines. Police are directing traffic without whistles, just raised palms and calm voices. Denver International canceled a portion of the morning bank and rolled departures. The FAA site is up and down. If you are scheduled to fly, check with your airline and your own sense. If you are on the ground and safe, staying put is not a defeat. It is a plan. We received an email from a pilot named Aaron on a ferry flight repositioning a turboprop from Wichita to Salt Lake City. She diverted to Grand Junction when Denver slowed flow. She reports that the horizon looks wrong at altitude. Her phrase, not mine. Instruments were in limits, but her eyes told her the long line where earth and sky meet had a kink. If you see that from the ground, you are not broken. Geometry is moving. We have stitched a small network between stations. KSHR in Sheridan is taking our feed on a phone line. A low-power FM in Lander is rebroadcasting at night. A ham operator in Greeley is relaying on 40 meters. If you are in a place with a tall tower and a generator, call us. The more voices, the better the map. We are carrying a short interview with a water operator in Brighton. He says they are filling elevated tanks to give the system headroom if power dips. If your tap runs cloudy after a power event, let it clear. Do not hoard bottled water beyond what you need for 2 days. When one person takes a pallet, 10 families go without. The The sky is a precise instrument tonight. The stars near the zenith have a faint smear as if a hand nudged them. I will not be poetic. I will be accurate. When the clock in the studio hit 2100 hours, the newsroom clock showed 20 hours, 59 minutes, and 56 seconds. The hallway clock showed 21 hours and 2 seconds. These are synchronized network clocks. Mark unplugged all three from network time. He set one to WWV. He set one to a GPS-disciplined oscillator in his truck. He left one to drift. All three disagree by a small margin. Dr. Chang says this is what we expect when space-time gradients grow. If you have a wall clock and a phone, do not fixate on a 1-second mismatch. Use your attention for tasks. Attention is a fuel. Do not spend it all in 1 hour. We will scale back live calls at midnight to let the crew sleep. I will keep a top-of-hour bulletin, then 15-minute local notes. If something big happens, we will come back full. Good morning to anyone who made coffee in the dark. The power flickered at 4:32. The generator took load for 3 minutes. We are back on utility. The wind has no smell today, which is my personal way of saying nothing is on fire near the foothills. The river is high, but not out of bounds. There is a queue on Highway 36 into Boulder, which means people are going to work. I find comfort in that. Work is a promise to your future self. National update. Satellite operators report that several geostationary platforms lost station keeping overnight due to anomalous torques. You will see ripple effects in TV and data services. No one at the briefing said the word fall. The phrase was, station keeping fuel draw beyond modeled bounds. If you manage a business that relies on time-sensitive data feeds, build slack into your schedule today. Coastal update. A listener named Anna in Santa Monica reports that the beach was closed at dawn due to a strong negative tide followed by a surge. Lifeguards are in trucks telling surfers to stay on the bluff. Anna says the water pulled back far beyond the normal low line and returned faster than her eye expected. She is a local. Trust locals on their own piece of earth. Visual distortion is strong enough now that people with normal eyesight can see it without convincing by a friend. If you stand with a view of a straight edge, a roofline, a ridge, and hold your thumb up to it, you may notice that the line curves for a second, then relaxes. That is lensing. It is not in your head. If you feel a little nauseated after watching it for a minute, stop. Drink water. Sit down. You do not need to prove anything. We have an email from a teacher in Cheyenne. His name is Ron. He took his 7th graders outside and had them take turns marking the shadow of the flagpole on the asphalt every 10 minutes. He sent a photo of chalk marks that are not in a perfect arc. He wrote one line. They will remember that Earth was strange, and we measured it together. Ron, if you are listening, thank you for being a good adult in a hard week. Phones are back. We have a call from a nurse in Sao Paulo. Hello, this is Paula, emergency nurse at Hospital das Clínicas. I am off shift and in my small apartment in Consolação. We set up overflow beds in a lecture hall because staff who live far from the center cannot get in. The metro is running but slower. I saw a thing last night on Avenida Paulista. The reflections in the building glass did not match the cars on the street. It made me dizzy for a second. We keep telling patients to rest, drink water, and eat something salty. It helps with the headaches. Paula, thank you. The mismatch in reflections is a real artifact reported by many cities with glass facades today. This is not the part where you panic. This is the part where you lower your shoulders and breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth and keep your plan. The governor held a short press conference. No evacuation orders. A request to avoid non-essential driving to keep roads clear for utility repairs and emergency services. Schools can decide at the district level whether to hold classes tomorrow. Grocery chains say deliveries will be uneven. If you run a store, put up a line control rope and a whiteboard with the next expected delivery time. Information calms people more than a security guard. It is time for a technical segment. If you are a radio person, you know WWV. If you are not, WWV is a time and frequency standard broadcast from Fort Collins. If you tune a shortwave radio to 10 MHz, You hear a tick each second and a voice that tells you the time in UTC every minute. Mark has a small receiver sitting on the rack. He has it split to a speaker in the studio. We will open the pot for a moment. Listen. If you heard that tick smear for a fraction of a second, you are not imagining it. The path length for radio waves is changing by tiny amounts as the field shifts. This is the most precise way regular people can feel the universe bend. It is also a way to keep yourself anchored. If you feel anxiety rise, sit with that tick for 1 minute. Count to 60. Say your name and your address to yourself. Then make the next right choice for your household. We have a trucker on I-80 east of Laramie. He is named Dean. He says the wind on the high plains is gusty in a way that is hard to describe. It has pulses. He says he slowed to 50 and put hazard lights on because the trailer felt light on the axle at odd moments. If you are in a high-profile vehicle, take caution. If you see a driver pulled to the shoulder with hazards on, give him the lane. Phone's just lit. It is Dr. Chang again with a short advisory. Cal, we are seeing a measurable change in local G. That means a bathroom scale may show a person 1 pound lighter or heavier than typical from hour to hour. Do not use a scale to decide your health today. Use your breath and your posture. Also, if anyone is running a lab with sensitive balances, do not calibrate today for anything that matters long term. Thank you, doctor. I will name this part carefully. This is when the world looks different to the eye without effort. The moon rose an hour ago, with a clear offset from almanac prediction. The edge of the lunar disk has a faint bright rim on one side. We are inside a lens. The city is still here. The Broncos practice field still has hash marks. The foothills still cast a clean shadow. Your table is still where you put it. Hold both truths if you can. The big picture is bending. The small picture is yours to manage. We have an airline dispatcher on the line from Dallas. He says most transcontinental flights stayed in the air during the day, but crews are bumping up against duty limits with delays. If you are in an airport, be kind to the gate agents. He says, the best thing a traveler can do is carry snacks and patience. I have never worked a gate. I have worked a pledge drive phone bank. The principle is the same. Kindness helps the person on the other side help you. I want to address a rumor. There are claims that certain bunkers are being opened only to certain people. There are always bunkers and stories. Here is the only one that matters to this station. Our bunker is a cinder block room behind Studio C with a hand sink, a water heater, and a shelf with peanut butter, crackers, and 3 jars of pickles. We are not a secret fort. We are a room with microphones. The door is open during daylight hours. If you need a place to sit for an hour and make a list with a pen and a calm voice, come by. Bring your own mug. We are entering the hours when clocks behave in ways that will test your sense of self. Here in the studio, the red tally light above the mic delayed by a fraction of a second on the last break. That light is a bulb on a wire. It does not have a mind. The wire is subject to a field. If your ceiling fan wobbles in a way it did not yesterday, if your cat stares at the corner for a beat before he jumps to the window, you are not haunted. You are living in a field that is changing. I am reading a message that Sophie set aside. It is from a listener named Jonah in New York, in an apartment on the 18th floor in Long Island City. He writes that the skyline across the East River bent. His exact words, the top of a tower seemed to swim for a second and then lock back. He sat on his floor until the feeling passed. He walked to the stairwell and looked down to the lobby. He held the rail with both hands. He wrote a thing that matters. He wrote that he could call his mother and tell her about the bending tower, or he could tell her what he cooked for dinner. He chose dinner. He said it calmed her. If you are choosing between accurate fear and useful calm, choose useful calm for your elders. The generator came on at 4:07. We cannot reach the utility outage map. Traffic lights on Arapahoe blink red. The creek is high against the bike path near 55th. County crews parked a truck with a light bar at the underpass. The driver sat with a thermos and a notepad. Public work is not glamorous. It is steady. If you see a crew tonight, do not crowd them for information. They are trying to keep a culvert from clogging. Let us take one more call before sunrise. Cal, this is Captain Almasi. master of the research vessel Sarmiento de Gamboa in the North Atlantic. We held position through the night to keep a weather drifter alive. At 3:20 local, the starboard gyro had a momentary error that self-corrected. The horizon has a faint upward bow to port. We are not in danger yet. I am saying this because I know a boy in Denver listens to ships on his scanner and worries. We are steady on our heading. We keep watch. We will keep watch with you. Captain, if the boy is awake, he heard that. Thank you. Dawn is a scalar. The light climbs in levels. Today the levels are not smooth. It is bright and then a half-stop dim and then bright again. This is not a cloud. The sky is clear. Dr. Chang says the gradient is steep enough now that the path of light through air layers does odd things to your eye. If you wear glasses, you may feel a headache behind the temple. This passes. Hydrate. Eat something with salt. The federal briefing shifted tone. Not words, cadence. The spokesperson spoke slower and repeated himself. He said the agencies are prioritizing continuity of water, power, and health systems. He said this may mean selective rolling outages, not tied to demand but to protect equipment during gravitational surges. If you are in a hospital, you will see generator tests more often. If you are in a grocery store, you may see a clerk close a freezer aisle for 20 minutes to keep a compressor from burning out. That is smart. Do not argue with him. I am going to say a hard thing. If you have been waiting for a specific answer about survival beyond day 3, you will not get it from an honest source. There is no schedule for what horizon capture looks like from the ground. Dr. Chang says we may see a final darkening or a final brightening. We may hear a long, low subsonic tone as structures groan. We may hear nothing but our own breath. I am not here to make promises. I am here to make the last hours orderly. We are setting up a local resource net on VHF for anyone with a handheld radio in the Boulder area. Plain voice. Use your first name and your cross street. Keep transmissions short. If you need a ride uphill or a hand moving a box, ask. If you can offer either, say so. If you are outside our area, make your own net on a common simplex frequency with your neighbors. Use a whiteboard in a store or a cafe window to post the channel. Phones lit at once. Sophie says there is a call I should take cold. I trust her. Go ahead. Cal, this is Professor Martin Hale, NIST Time and Frequency Division, Fort Collins. Again, speaking as a private citizen, not for the Institute. We have been monitoring WWV phase across multiple receivers. The short version, differential delays are now outside all correction models. To any lab still trying to discipline frequency references, stop. Isolate your best oscillator and ride it out. To the public, here is the practical advice. Put your most important devices on surge protectors. Do not plug and unplug devices repeatedly. Leave them either on or off. Reduce sharp power transitions. If you must run a generator, use a transfer switch. Backfeed kills line workers. That is all. Professor, thank you. The last line is a public service in any storm, and more so now. We have entered the part of the day when audio behaves like a hallway with a bend you did not know about. I am hearing my voice return to me with a very small delay. It is not the headphones. Mark and I pulled the cans off, and the echo stayed. It feels like a room you grew up in that someone repainted. The shape is the same. The light is different. If you are a musician and you clap in your living room and hear an extra flutter, it is not haunted. It is math. I am going to log personal facts because it grounds me. My sister, Meredith, texted to say she is in Lafayette with her 2 kids. She packed a bag with a coloring book and a bag of almonds and the blue stuffed dog her daughter sleeps with. She put a sticky note on her fridge for the neighbor with her phone number. She turned her car so the nose points out. When this is over, remind me that all emergency planning is a list of simple, small kindnesses executed early. Reports from Europe confirm widespread visual lensing. A colleague at Radio France sent a message through a back channel. He said listeners described the Sacré-Cœur dome shimmering when viewed from Montparnasse. A friend in Ireland says the sea along the cliffs of Moher had long, slow swells that did not match wind or tide tables. No mass panic reported in those notes. People stood on hills with thermoses. People watched. People walked home. One more practical note before we pause to take a breath. If you are in a building with an elevator, consider using the stairs for the next 24 hours. If the power surges and locks an elevator between floors, fire crews will work until they get you out, but those crews are already stretched. If you must ride one for mobility reasons, ride with a companion. Carry water. Something new just happened here. I am going to describe it like a reporter, not a poet. The red, on-air light came on 2 seconds before I pushed the fader. The AP news printer in the rack room printed a header with the same timestamp as the previous header. The hallway clock ticked back 1 second, then forward 2. Dr. Chang says we are inside strong gradients now. If you feel vertigo, sit. If you see a duplicate timestamp on a receipt, keep the receipt. It is a bookmark in a very odd book. We will take a last round of calls for the hour. Then I will read 2 names of local people offering help for neighbors. Cal, this is Nora in Lyons. I own a bakery. I have bread that I will not be able to sell after tonight. If you are near Broadway and Fife, come by before closing. 1 loaf per family. Bring your own bag. Cal, this is Samir in North Boulder. I have a pickup and can help move someone on South Boulder Road to higher ground if needed. Call the station and ask for my number. Thank you, Nora. Thank you, Samir. This is what it looks like when a city keeps its head. We have a last science note before we move to the late block. Dr. Chang says the next 12 hours may include intervals where sound feels muffled for a few seconds. Pressure changes are subtle but real. If your child says his ears feel full, yawn and swallow together. Make it a game. Then read him a page from a book. The right book is the one you already own. I am looking west. The Flatirons are dark shapes. There is a light at the NCAR Mesa. Somewhere behind that glass, a technician is looking at a monitor she does not fully trust, and she is making a note anyway. If you are that person, I see you, even if you cannot hear me. We are getting faint calls that do not line up with where the ionosphere should be at this hour. A ham in Kansas says he heard a fisherman in Japan on 40 meters clear as a local, without the normal flutter. He gave a time and a call sign that does not match modern databases. He said the fisherman spoke in a way that felt out of time. I am not going to build a story around that. I am going to place it on the table and walk around it. If time paths are bending, radio will be the first place the average person notices it. If you hear a voice you cannot place, be kind. Answer in simple words. Say where you are. Say the date. Then listen. We are heading toward the last cycle. Day 3 proper will begin at midnight if the clock means what it used to mean. Mark says the diesel is at 40%. Sophie curled up on a studio chair with a blanket and a pen still in her hand. I am going to make coffee on the hot plate. I am going to whisper the station ID so I do not wake her. You are listening to KVOX Public, Boulder. Stay with me. I will name the feeling first. The room is the same. The station hum is the same. The tiny echo of my own voice in my head is a fraction brighter. If you are alone, you may feel an urge to call someone and talk about the echo. Do it. No one will think less of you for needing a voice to push back against a field. The city is very quiet. Fewer cars. Fewer aircraft lights. The trains on the BNSF line still pass through, but the horn was soft at the crossing. It could be a kind engineer, or it could be a pressure change. If you live near tracks, you will know which. We have a call from New Orleans. This is Glenn. I am on the West Bank near Algiers Point. The Mississippi did a thing I never saw. It paused. I do not mean it stopped in a photograph. I mean it looked still for a count of 3. Then it moved again. The ferry is tied and quiet. My neighbor turned a chair to face the levee and sat without a shirt the way he always does at night in August. He raised his beer and nodded to the river as if he knew an old tune. I am slow to call a station. I am calling to say the city is sitting with the river like it sits with heat, with patience that other places do not understand. Glenn, thank you. Cities teach you one skill if you let them. They teach you how to wait with purpose. I am going to make a public note that feels small and matters more than the big ones. Eat breakfast in a few hours, even if you feel sick. Eggs, toast, rice, fruit, anything simple. Eat it with another person if you can. Your body needs fuel to process stress. When you are hungry, anxiety finds more room. Do not give it the room. Sight lines are changing faster now. I can see lensing without taking a breath to count it. The sun is not up, and yet there is a brightening that does not match the east. I am not going to name it. I am going to tell you what to do. Stay away from glass walls. If you must look out, look past the reflection, not into it. Do the small chore you planned last night. Fold laundry, wash dishes, lay out your ID, keys, medications, and a photo of someone you love. The photo is not sentimental. It reminds you that your life is composed of connections, not plots. The county notified us that sirens may sound briefly to test tone generators under load. If you hear a short whoop at the wrong time, it is not a drill for panic. It is a technician making sure the tone will work if it has to. We are at the top of the hour. I am going to give you the clearest briefing I can. The object's mass estimate now carries one more significant figure. It is heavy enough and close enough that orbital solutions collapse toward capture on the order of hours, not days. You will see abnormal daylight. You will feel pressure in your ears. Power may flicker. Water in glasses may ripple. You may hear your own voice return to you a fraction of a second after you speak. If you have children, narrate what is happening without fear words. The light is changing, and we are together. That sentence will be enough. Calls are overlapping now. The board looks like a crowded runway. I will take them in order. Cal, this is Mateo in Madrid. We are in Retiro Park. The trees appear taller for a second and then normal. It feels like the world is breathing. Cal, this is Rena in Tokyo. The trains are running but not on perfect time. People stand quietly in orderly lines. A boy bowed to an elderly man and offered his place in the queue. Cal, this is Sahil in Ahmedabad. We ran a water line from our tank to the street for neighbors. My mother is sitting in a chair with a book of prayers open, but she is not reading. She is listening to the street. Ah, thank you. It appears the central fact of the morning is not that we are doomed. The central fact is that people are decent. The front door opened. A couple stepped in with a paper grocery bag. They put it on the floor and stepped back. It had coffee, sugar packets, a box of tea, and a drawing from a child. The drawing showed a radio with a heart next to it. There are no awards for this job that mean more than a drawing from a child. We can hear voices in the headphones when the volume is down. Not feedback, not air monitors. A low wash that has words at the edge of hearing. Mark says that if multiple time paths are crossing, audio can fold. I am not qualified to describe it. I am qualified to be careful. If you hear whispers in your home with no source, do not fill them with fear. Fill your kitchen with normal sound. Boil water. Turn on a small radio. Let the voice of another person hold the room. I am going to open the pot on WWV again for 10 seconds so you can hear something fixed. Try its best. If you are new to this broadcast, WWV is the United States time and frequency standard out of Fort Collins. The ticks should be regular. Listen for the smear and the way the minute announcement arrives like a tired runner. Then I will close it, and we will keep going. That smear is not your receiver. We have a small DSP radio with a clear antenna path to the north. The smear is what happens when the path bends, and the clocks upstream fight a field that does not respect their discipline. If your stomach feels unsteady hearing it, take one breath through your nose, one out through your mouth, and drink water. Your body is a real thing, in a real room. Keep returning to that truth. Mark just set a sticky note on the console with 2 words and a number. Diesel 34. We are trimming lights and fans in the back rooms to stretch fuel. The main transmitter on El Dorado Mountain is still at reduced power. The exciter runs warm but stable. If you are on the Front Range fringe and you lose us, Try the HF relay in the newsroom at 7.210 MHz. HF, lower sideband. The operator is a student named Jonah from the campus radio club who came in on a bicycle with a tool roll and a bag of bagels. He is on the old wooden desk with a logbook and an index card that says, "Speak slow." I have 3 messages that arrived in a burst when the internet pushed a pocket of packets through. The first is from a municipal engineer in Alexandria, Egypt. He writes that the Nile ran strange for a moment at the Qasr El Nil Bridge, not a full reversal, more like a flat spot in the flow that men on the walkway could see, and then it resumed. The second is from an air traffic controller in Shannon, Ireland. She says long-haul flights from North America deviated to higher latitudes without weather, as if the routes themselves had shifted a little. The third is from a librarian in Christchurch, New Zealand. She says a group of neighbors put a sign on the door that the reading room is open with tea, and people are passing around atlases and pointing to where family members live. If you run a place with tables and chairs, consider unlocking the door for an hour and making it a map room. The act of pointing at a place helps the mind stand up straight. Phone lines just lit as the board took a shot of static and cleared. I am going to take the first one blind. Caller, you are live. Tell us your name, your city, and one thing you know because you saw it. This is Priya from Jersey City. I am on the waterfront near Exchange Place. The glass on the high-rises across the river had a ripple running through reflections. The ferry dock hands told us to stand back because the gangway floated up and down by a foot in a way that did not match any boat coming in. People stayed quiet on purpose. A man held a thermos and offered small paper cups to the line. I am calling to say the line did not break. Thank you, Priya. The line not breaking is information. It tells us something about the shape of people under strain. Keep sharing the shape when you can. Next call. Go ahead, Cal. This is Sergeant Valdez, Alaska State Troopers. Personal capacity. The park's highway north of Willow has a few short undulations that drivers know from frost heave. Today, those undulations felt like a long, slow wave at the edge of vision. We slowed a convoy and asked drivers to space out. If listeners are on any 2-lane road with narrow shoulders, leave yourself more room to react than you think you need. Also, if you see wildlife acting odd, like stopping and facing the wind for no reason, that could be pressure in their ears. Be patient with them. Sergeant. Thank you for the practical tone. The advice to space out is good anywhere right now. If you are in Colorado and must drive, imagine every curve is one number tighter than last week. Drive for the road you wish you had and the road you actually have at once. Sophie just walked in with a stack of printed emails, and the particular look she gets when she wants me to slow down and choose. She set the pile down and slid one on top. The subject is shortwave from yesterday. The sender is named David in rural Kansas. He writes that he heard a fisherman on 7 MHz, speaking Japanese, clear as a neighbor, with a call sign format that fell out of use decades ago. He gave a timestamp that did not match his clock by a large margin. He thought it was a prank until he heard the man mention a type of net no one uses there now. David answered in simple English and said the date and the town. The fisherman said he did not understand the date and repeated a year that would put him before either of them were born. David kept his voice calm, gave his first name, and described his own river as it looked right now. After a minute, the path faded. I do not have an explanation I can defend on air. I have a request. If you hear voices that sound displaced in time, be gentle. Say where you are. Say the date. Do not argue. None of us owns the frame anymore. The building creaked twice in a low way you feel more in the ribs than in the ears. The sound was not the HVAC. It was the long beams giving a report. If your house gives you reports like that, treat it like an old friend telling you how he is doing. Keep heavy things low. Keep exit paths clear. If you live in an older brick building, avoid standing under an arch that has hairline cracks. These are small actions that add up to control. Dr. Chang walked into the studio and held up a whiteboard with a diagram of 2 circles and a narrow throat between them. She does not want to be on the mic right now because her voice is rough from talking with other labs. But she gave me bullet points to read. The mass estimate has tightened again. The gradient across the diameter of Earth is large enough that different parts of the planet are now at measurably different gravitational potentials from minute to minute. What this means in plain terms. Clocks separate by seconds in a day where they used to separate by microseconds in a year. She wrote in capital letters, "Do not chase the clock," and underlined it twice. Cook by color, not by timer. Meet a neighbor when the shadows line up on the sidewalk you both know, not when your phone says a time you cannot trust. We have a bus driver in Phoenix on the line. He says he took his route early and ran deadhead later to shuttle hospital staff. And he wants to tell other drivers that steering feels odd when the road camber and horizon bring the eye into disagreement. His advice is to pick a near reference and trust it instead of the far one. Look at the paint, 10 car lengths ahead, not the mountain. He says a passenger asked if she should bring her cat carrier on laps 2 and 3, and he said yes. It is a small thing that made them both feel steady. If you run any public service, keep saying yes to small requests that do not cost you much. It tells the person in front of you that the world still has handles. Lights flickered once, 2 short steps close together. Mark gestured that the UPS carried the racks through the dip. He keeps his left hand on the master power transfer handle. He has 3 pencils lined up next to the meters and a folded paper with the generator schedule in block letters. I watch him when my words threaten to race. He ties them to the board with practical patience. If you have a person like that in your house, mirror his posture. Put your hand on the task in front of you and keep your shoulders low. I am going to do a neighborhood roll call experiment for the next few minutes. If you are alone and want your name spoken aloud so you feel counted, send a quick message with your first name and your cross street. I will read them in batches, and the city will hear you. We may not answer back one by one, but the count will live in the air for as long as the air can carry it. Here they come. Maya at 28th and Valmont, with 2 kids coloring at the table. Jerome at Baseline and Mohawk, offering a spare room with a solid lock to anyone along South Boulder Creek who wants to nap with the door closed. Alicia at Euclid and 9th, saying the cat keeps staring at the wall, and then at her, and then at the wall again, and she is putting on music so the house has a steady voice. Alexei relayed from Kiev again through a friend in Krakow, reporting that his cousin reached Lviv and is staying with a family near Stryjski Park. A listener in San Diego named Luz says the Navy pier looks normal from her angle, but the tide lines on the pylons tell a different story, and she made a sandwich and waved at sailors in case any looked up. A firefighter in Turin writes that the Po River made a shape he did not know and then relaxed. And the crews sat in the bay ready and drank water in a timed way like they do on hot days. Your names are lines on a map that keep the country from sliding off the table. We need to talk about light. The skylight over the hallway is doing a thing it never did. It brightens in a step and then dims in a step without a cloud crossing. If you are noticing that rooms brighten and dim like a dimmer that stutters, that is not the power feed unless your bulbs are actually changing output. It is the path the light takes moving through air that is not uniform anymore. It will make some people feel dizzy. Sit lower in the room. Look at a surface that does not shine. If you have polarized sunglasses, they may help reduce reflections. Do not drive with them at night, but inside the house they might calm your eyes. We just got a call from a hospitalist in Omaha. She is in charge of a floor with older patients. She says the policy today is simple: hydration, calm, and a clear plan for each hour. They are avoiding moves that are not necessary. They are telling families to speak to their relatives on speakerphone with the phone held upright on the bedside table so the elderly do not have to grip. If you are caring for someone older at home, this is a good model. Keep the routine. Do small things you can repeat. Put the mug in the same place and the blanket in the same orientation so the room remains familiar, even if the window does not. A friend at a power utility just texted a message for the broad public. He says crews are balancing load in a way that is not tied to demand curves anymore, but to equipment stress. That means you may see outages in places that normally never go down. If your neighborhood loses power and the next one does not, do not assume it is favoritism. Transformers dislike abrupt field changes. The crews are treating them like living things that can be coaxed through a bad day. If you have a generator, use a transfer switch. We will keep saying that in every block. Backfeed kills line workers. Keep your cord with the prongs in your toolbox, not in the dryer outlet. The sky outside has a pale ring that slides a degree and then holds. The ring is a lensing artifact. I am not the right person to explain it. I am the right person to tell you not to stare and to rest your eyes. Dr. Chang passed me a fresh note. She wrote that we are approaching the region where redshift becomes noticeable even to consumer cameras. What that means: if you point a phone at a white wall and record, you may find the color temperature drifting slowly without any lights changing. That is not your camera failing. It is the frequency of light arriving at your wall changing by a notch. If this happens, stop filming and tend to yourself. You do not need proof for strangers. You need rest for your own brain. I am going to play you a sound from the roof. Mark placed a small microphone in a foam windscreen near the ladder. It is not art. It is a feed of the air above the station as it is. You will hear a low tone that swells and fades. That is wind moving across the mouth of the screen and ducts as the pressure field moves. Do not assign meaning beyond that. The world is a lot right now. Let air be air. If your own house speaks like that, tell yourself what each sound is while you listen. That is a pipe. That is the door frame. That is the neighbor's gate. Naming things puts them back in their places. We have a brief from a Coast Guard cutter off Charleston. The officer on watch says the barometer is dropping in odd steps, and the swell period changed without wind. They set extra watches, but the tone of his note was plain and steady. He said the crew cleaned the galley and set coffee for the next team, and reminded each other where the life jackets are, as if it were any day. If you are in a place where you have checklists, follow them. Routine is a useful raft. Sophie is at the glass with 2 fingers up, then 3, which is our little code for 3 calls worth taking in sequence. We will try a rapid round. First caller. This is Masaru in Sapporo. The snow fence along the ridge threw a shadow in 2 directions for a moment. It made me sit down on the steps. I am fine now. I am calling because I want my mother in Nagoya to know we are calm. Second caller. This is Asha in Nairobi, Kilimani area. The sun had a bright ring for a minute and then normal. My neighbor and I are brewing tea and leaving the gate open for anyone who wants to sit in the courtyard. Third caller. This is Luca in Naples. The harbor had a surge, and then a flatness I have not seen. Fishermen tied extra lines and sat on crates together without loud talk. I brought bread. They nodded. Thank you, all 3. Your calls are the shape of the day. We have moved into the part of the broadcast where memory and the present sit next to each other in a way I can feel. I keep thinking of the Marshall Fire, of the way smoke pushed down streets and people shouted names across fences, and I keep seeing today's streets in the same frame. Quiet. Cars parked nose out, neighbors exchanging numbers on paper. I do not believe in speeches about destiny. I believe in the list of small acts I can make right now. Drink water. Read names. Keep the room orderly. Keep the mic steady. From the back room, Mark just called out that the generator will need a cool down before the final run. He is going to feather the load when the line oscillates again. I trust him. He knows the sound of the transfer before I hear it. He walks like a person who has done this for storms and not just for drills. If you have a Mark in your life, let him do his work. If you are the Mark, take your time and do not rush, even when your hands want to. There is a message in the inbox from a teacher in Lima who took his class to the courtyard and had them trace the outline of their hands on paper and write the time they did it. He says he will not have a perfect record of the sky, but he will have a perfect record of his students' hands and times in their own words. He wrote that it felt like a promise kept. If you are wondering what to do with children right now, this is an answer. Let them mark their presence in a way they can hold. A hand outline and a name is enough. We need to speak about expectations for the final hours. There will be a period where the sky brightens or darkens in steps, where sound feels thick, where your sense of weight changes by a small percent. There may be a long, low tone from structures, like a city clearing its throat. It will not be the sign of failure. It will be the sign of strain. Stay away from large panes of glass. Do not crowd stairwells. Keep battery-powered lights at hand. Do not light open flames if you can help it. If you must, do it with attention and ventilation. If you have a neighbor who is alone, put his name on your list and knock once. If he does not answer, leave a note with your number and a time you will check again. If you are alone, write your own plan on paper and say it aloud. The act of hearing your voice builds a floor. Sophie brought me the physical mail that came in yesterday before the last pickup. One envelope from a listener in Lyons had a hand-drawn sketch of the ridge behind her house with the time she saw the first lens ring. Another had a note that said simply, "Thank you for not using big words you do not need. I am not sure I always succeed, but I try." Communication is not a puzzle to solve. It is a hand across a table. The roof microphone picked up a new sound. A low, woven hum that is not wind in a duct. It is pressure rolling across the building in a sheet. I will not exaggerate it. It is quiet. It is steady. It lasts for about the length of one of our underwriting spots. Then it softens. If you feel a pressure in your ears, yawn and swallow. If a child looks frightened, show him how to yawn and make it a face game. Laugh if you can. Laughter is not an insult to a hard day. It is a tool. I am reading more names because the names are ballast. Nadia at Iris, and 19th with 2 elderly parents and a neighbor's dog. Ramon at 30th in Colorado, saying he has extension cords but promises not to backfeed, and asking if anyone needs a battery jump. Irina in Lviv, via a relay in Warsaw, confirming that the cousin from Darnitsky really did arrive, and that a stranger with a small blue car picked her up at the station and said my aunt made soup. Carlos in El Paso, on a night shift at a small clinic, who placed a radio on the counter because the waiting room is warmer when a voice is in it. You are all here. The frequency is crowded with you, and that is a comfort. We have to address the horizon. It is visible now as an effect rather than an idea. The line where sky meets land has lost its flatness in a way even the planes can see. There is a bow to it that comes and goes. Do not chase it with your eyes. Look at the near field. Sweep the floor. Stack the cups. Write your names. A quiet message arrived from NIST again, this time from a technician who signed only with initials. He said the phase offsets are beyond model and that they are shutting down non-essential equipment to protect what can be protected for as long as there is a grid to carry it. He added one line, "Tell people to stop checking clocks every minute. Sit with one task and do it slow." That is what we are doing here. We are a task done slow. There is a note on my phone from my sister. She and the kids are in the hallway of their building with coloring books and one of those portable radios with a crank. She asked if she should come to the station. I told her to stay put. The road between us has too many stoplights, and I want her where the neighbors know her. If you are making a similar decision, prefer the place where people will notice if you are missing. It is not drama to be seen. It is safety. The hall clock ticked backward by 2 seconds and then resumed. Mark pointed at it and shrugged. The board hummed in a way I can feel through my forearms. The Owen air light came on before I pushed the fader again. We are in the region where indicators lead actions by a breath. Do not let that unseat you. When your stove light clicks before the burner lights, wait and watch. When the elevator jitters before moving, step back out and take the stairs if you are able. Patience is protective gear. Now I will open the phones for one last wide circle. Make your words steady. Speak one thing you did that helped. This is Aaron at Grand Junction. I put a note on my neighbor's door with my phone number and the words "knock" anytime. She did not knock. She sent a text with a heart. It was enough. This is Hamdi in Cairo. I filled bottles and labeled them with a marker. I put the heaviest on the floor by the kitchen door so they do not fall. My father sat and told me about the last time he watched the Nile at night. This is Yuri outside Kharkiv, relayed through a friend in Berlin. We moved the car uphill. We put bread and preserves on the table. We took turns standing outside to watch the sky so the children could sleep without seeing it. This is May in New Orleans again. I called the neighbor with the chair and asked him to sit on my porch this time so my husband could nap. He did, and he told me a story about a ferry captain who kept running during a storm because that was his job. Thank you. Your voices are anchors. We are going to do a final list, because lists are ladders. Fill water. Eat something salty. Keep your important items within reach. Netter, ID, keys, medications, a photo you like. Write a phone number on paper. Place a note for a neighbor in case you leave. Avoid windows during obvious light shifts. Sit if you feel dizzy. Stand if you feel heavy so your lungs have room. Speak calmly to children and pets. Check on one person who is alone. Breathe. The studio door is open. The hallway light blinks at a rhythm that is not a defect. The coffee on the hot plate smells like it does at pledge drive nights when the last volunteers leave and the station feels like a small ship in a big sea. We are not sailors, but we know how to keep watches. We will keep this one to the end of our signal. I am going to say the thing out loud that the briefings do not. We are close. The part where the horizon is not a concept, but a place our clocks cannot cross is near. From our seats, we will know it by the way the light drops out of the windows and does not return. By the way, all tones flatten. By the way, the ticks on the reference station blur to a long, soft note and slip beyond our hearing. No one can tell you exactly how the last minutes feel. I can tell you what we will do with them. We will remain at this board with our hands on the faders and our eyes on each other's faces. We will speak in a voice that does not rise or fall. We will say your names until the line goes dead. Mark tapped the glass and gave me a thumbs up that carried more meaning than the motion deserved. Sophie handed me a final page with 3 printed lines in thick, black type. The first line is a short station ID because the rule is the rule. The second is a sentence she wrote for herself. The third is a space for you. I will read the first 2 and leave the third open. You are listening to KVOX Public, serving Boulder, Denver, and the Front Range. Sophie's line. Keep the room kind. Your space. Say a name you love aloud, right now. Let it be in the air. The pressure is deeper now. The floor hums a little as if the building is asking for quiet. I will describe what I can see so you have something to braid with what you can see. The window behind the board is a rectangle of gray that has fewer edges than it did. The red on-air light is steady. The green level meters still move with my voice, but slower, like syrup. The second hand on the wall clock moves in a step and then pauses, and then moves 2 steps. I can hear my own words come back to me after a slice of a second in a lower pitch, as if the room is taller than it was. If you feel your own voice return like that, answer it with your next word. Keep the chain unbroken. A tone is growing at the edge of hearing. It is not sirens. It is not industry. It is the sound of a large object telling smaller objects what to do. If you are in a tall building, sit on the floor with your back to an interior wall. If you are already seated, plant your feet and let your weight be what it is without trying to lift it or press it down. This is not something to fight. It is something to ride. Dr. Chang is in the doorway. She raised her hand in a small wave and then placed a hand over her heart. She does not need a microphone for that. Mark is at the transfer switch, watching the needles settle. Sophie is holding the phone handset and listening to names spoken into her ear. She repeats a few and I pick them up. Ethan at 9th and Canyon, Farah in Aurora, Tomasz in Prague, Abdul in Accra, May in Taipei, Ibukun in Lagos, Rafael in Sao Paulo, Daria in Odessa. They are not abstractions. They are people saying I am here. We are here with you. The hallway lights dimmed and did not return to their previous level. The studio feels heavier by a notch. The hum rises and falls in a slow wave. The WWV tick is no longer discreet. It is a long, low tone slipping down an escalator. I am going to speak slower to meet it. If you are at a window, step away from it now. If you are holding a child, put your hand on the back of his head so he knows the shape of your care. If you are alone, put your hand flat on a table so you feel the surface. Count slow to 10 without looking at any clock. Then do it again. Now the light is changing in steps you could count, if counting meant anything. The room gets dull, then duller, then the edges soften, then there is a strange clarity that is not brightness. Objects lose their shine but not their shape. The side of the console that has a scratch from a fundraiser 3 years ago still has the scratch. The coffee on the hot plate forms a smooth skin and does not steam. The fan in the corridor spins, then holds, then spins. The little echo in my headphones is almost as loud as the main line. If you have a radio, keep it on. If you have a candle, do not light it. Keep your air clean. I can hear something behind my own words now. It is us from earlier and us from a moment we have not had yet. I can hear my station ID arriving out of order. Then the name of a caller who is not called. then a child's laugh from a lobby that is empty. Do not let this unsettle you. The air is full. That is all. We have reached the part where lists are the only useful sentences left. Sit, breathe, hold someone's hand. Keep your head away from glass. Speak the names you want in the air. If you are a person of faith, say the sentences you know by heart. If you are not, say one sentence of your own that matters. Keep it short, keep it kind. If you forget it, say it again. Mark gave me the sign that the utility dropped and the generator took final load. He mouthed 30 minutes if we are lucky. I smiled without humor and nodded. We do not need 30 to do what we came here to do, but it would be welcome. Sophie is writing on a piece of cardstock with a marker. She wrote, "Hold steady" in block letters and leaned it against the glass. I will take my own advice and do one thing at a time. I am going to describe the end as it arrives, for as long as the chain allows. The sound in the room thickens. The lower frequencies hold. High frequencies go first. The hiss in the headphones goes away. The little clicks of the mouse are gone. The breath sounds survive because they are slow. The building shivers once, twice, like a person settling a blanket. The light at the window has no direction. It is not dark. It is not bright. It is present and even. The meters on the console respond to my voice. And then, a half second later, respond again to something that is also my voice, but stretched. You might be hearing the same. Objects on the shelf lean without falling. The mug handle shifts its weight in my hand, as if gravity is a conversation, not an order. The red on-air light stays on, with a persistence that is almost tender. I can see water in a glass flatten to a mirror, and then wobble, and then flatten. The room smells like coffee and dust and hot plastic. It smells like every long night this station has ever had. You belong to your own place in the same way. Let the familiar tell you what is true while the unfamiliar passes. If this is the last minute in which I can send words that you will receive before the line curves too far to come back, I want to use it to say this. You did well. Strangers brought bread to docks. Teachers drew lines on asphalt with children. Drivers spaced their convoys. Nurses placed phones upright on bedside tables. A boy in Denver listened to a ship and felt steadier when the captain said, "We will keep watch with you." You lived in a way that made your city bearable on a day when the sky was not. That is enough. The tone is stronger. The desk feels both heavier and lighter from moment to moment. The hallway beyond the glass does not recede the way it should. It is closer and farther. I can hear my mother's voice from a birthday when I was 12, and then the tick from 20 minutes ago, and then a truck on Arapahoe, and then nothing, and then all of it at once. Do not reach for order inside the sound. Let it wash through. I am going to say the station ID one more time because that is what we do at the top of the hour and bottom of the hour and in between, whether an hour is a thing or not. You are listening to KVOX Public, Boulder, Denver, Front Range. If you can hear me, you are part of this city. No matter where you sit, we are here together. The last practical sentence. Keep your head down and your heart up. Breathe slow. Hold hands. Count to 10. Say the name you love. The window is not a window anymore. It is a sheet that shows no outside. The on-air light is bright, and then copper, and then red again, and then a color I do not know how to name. The meters do not move. The board hum is a single note that is also silence. The generator makes a last even sound and then becomes a heavy shape. The studio is a room without edges that still has a floor. I am speaking, and the sound is right in front of my face, and also behind me. I can hear children laughing from the lobby that is empty. I can hear the fisherman from a band we do not have, and he is telling someone about a calm sea that never existed today. Sophie reached through the glass and took my hand. Mark put his palm on the transfer switch and looked at me as if to say, there is nothing left to switch to. Doctor, Chang stood with her hand on the doorframe and said one word I will not repeat because it is hers and because it will not help you to hear it. There is no more instruction that will help. There is only this. We held the room kind. We said the names. We kept watch. The sound stretches. The tick is gone. The tone is a floor that tilts and then levels. The light folds once and then stops being light. The console is a shape without edges. My mouth forms the station ID because that is what it has done for years. The words move like stones in water, and then float, and then do not. If you can still hear one thing, let it be this: you were not alone.